Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this today's podcast. This is Si Wing Yi from the Yi Real Estate Network, and today's title is July 2021 inventory listings for Buffalo Niagara Falls opportunity. So I have before you once again our special guest, Caleb Canazzi from Buffalo Turnkey, and he is here to answer any potential concerns that any investors may have, just to clarify any misconceptions, misunderstandings, all those kind of things that exist as always. So before we do that, thank you once again, Caleb. You guys are very busy doing so many deals every single day for many, many years. So we've been working together for several years now, and Buffalo Turnkey is a very unique turnkey provider, as I describe it, and they are under the radar, and they want to be like that. They are not mainstream because you guys been doing it so long. Your company is a multi-generational business. Your father is running the company, and you and your siblings are running the day-to-day operations. So it's a one-stop shop. Everything's in place. Everything's done for you. So the unique value proposition that you guys bring to outside investors is that you know you you buy all the properties on local neighborhoods, and you rehab it with your own crew, with your own then with your own rehab crew. Then you fix it up, and then then you make the property turnkey. You upgrade everything, you rehab all the property, make it turnkey. So it's all done. You place the tenant in there, and then everything's just on autopilot. So for outside investors, and I know you can answer this question. Uh, we are one of the very few investment club you guys decided to work with us a few years ago, and luckily for us, you're allowing financing for our investors. Our investors buy a $50,000 to $60,000 financing, and our investment loan agent, Richard Advani from Supreme Lending, are willing and able to finance such a small purchase. So that means our investors are getting the bang for the buck, meaning, you can finance a 20 to 25% down payment on a single family home or duplex in your portfolio. I mean, the down payment is only like 15 grand, maybe 20 grand total out of pocket for investor to finance a $60,000 single family home or a duplex, and get some very, very high return, high cash flow, cash and cash return, and the whole 9 yards. So for that, we really appreciate, because the other investors that buy from you on a weekly, monthly basis, they are from they are usually cash buyers, either across the border from Canada, or also outside, somewhere in the United States as well. And you have some overseas buyers that for years, correct me if I'm wrong, you have overseas buyers that you work with on a consistent basis for many years, where those overseas buyers from Israel, some other Middle East countries, I assuming they're still doing that. They are buying in bulk, if you will. They buy like 3, 4, 5 properties at one time per investor from overseas, and that buy with all cash. Is that still the case right at this time?
Yeah, actually, one just came in. I took him around yesterday, actually, and showed him a few properties. So he's going to be buying a couple more, actually. So yeah, we have a lot of people from Israel. There's like a whole investment group, kind of like how you have. There's one in Japan. Get people from UK, South Africa, France, Germany, Russia, literally like all over the world too. So a lot of people from Canada, just because it's close. A little less now with COVID because the borders closed, and then a lot of people also from New York City. So
Oh, good, good, good. So yeah. So for example, one of those investors typically, how many properties they buy? Just on the average, and
well, it really depends on the investor. So I mean, some might be one, and like the most we've had is like 80 over the course of many years. So someone bought 80 properties from us, but otherwise, like some people buy one, two, three. Like it just kind of depends on what people. It's individualized. So
As as I understand, most of them they buy with all cash. Is that correct?
In Israel, yeah, they can't, because a lot of foreign investors, they can't get financing here, so they're pretty much always cash. So we deal with a lot of cash purchases, and people from New York City also. There's just a lot of cash in New York City, so they tend to buy cash as well, and
Yeah.
so we do a lot of cash deals besides financing with a lot of your clients. That we don't do a whole lot of financing.
Good, good. I really appreciate that because your father decided to open up financing for our investment club several years ago, and we really, otherwise, our investors, it's kind of hard for me to buy with all cash because some of them they don't have that much money. They rather do financing so they can leverage their money, so forth and so on. So in terms of long term, I know our investors, right, when they buy from you, our philosophy is buy and hold and live off the cash flow, build the passive income portfolio with you guys, buy multiple properties, if possible, and with financing. So with your other buyers, what are the? I'm just curious if they're buying three, four, five properties, all with cash, each investor from those locations. What are their goals? What they've been telling you? I mean, what is their exit strategy, if you will, buying from your portfolio of homes?
So what I see a lot is most people say they'll want to hold it for at least 5 years because buying a property, there's obviously some closing costs involved in everything. So to make that a little bit less, but normally people like to buy and hold, especially for these cash flow properties. That's like very, very effective strategy, and they can make money that way. And eventually, when they're looking to sell, we've bought properties back even for way much more than we've sold them for too. Oftentimes, because prices have just continually risen. Or we could sell them on the market for them. I'm also a licensed real estate broker, so I could put them on the MLS if people want to do that. Obviously, there's fees with that, but yeah, that we there's a lot of different investor types. Some people plan to hold them on for basically the rest of their lives and just pass them on to their children when they die. It really just depends. But most people they're buying and holding.
Good, good. It's similar to our investors, like we all should promote, right? Buy and hold long term. That's the key. That's the key for real estate wealth building. So, can you? I know I'm going to ask you kind of a challenging question, and some of my investors have brought up from time to time. Because the property you guys have is older. They're built like 60, 70, 80 years ago. But you and I know I'm very comfortable because you guys have done such a good job of rehabbing, because your properties, even though on a picture it looks old, but it has good bones. It has good foundation. You guys upgrade the roof, upgrade the water heater, the electrical systems, and all the cosmetic things. You guys fix it up, make it turnkey for investors, and and nothing out of pocket for our investors. And when investors buy from you, we buy, you set the price, we just buy with the price. Investors does not pay for the rehab. They don't pay for the fix up, which is really, really very, very beneficial. So with that said, over time, I mean, when I do a cash flow analysis projection for my investors on my cash flow sheet, on my pro forma, I put down 5% vacancy and 5% maintenance factors. That means if a house is collecting, for example, $5,000 monthly net cash flow, for example, I put correct me if my calculation is not accurate. I put down a 5% maintenance factor. That means we're due to wear and tear of a property. As landlord investors, we have to factor in this additional cost, right? So we can so investors can make an informed decision before they buy a particular property. So is my 5% maintenance projection is realistic, or I mean, I know it's a case by case basis. I know it's hard for you to answer precisely, but just give me some idea of the potential. What is the estimated maintenance cost from year to year over time? So tell me, what are your thoughts?
So it really depends. So, and also I want to make pretty clear that not all the properties we buy, we're just upgrading the roofs and everything. Like sometimes we're buying a property and the roof is fine. We're not always rehabbing properties extensively. But as you mentioned before, even though they're older houses, yeah, the structures are completely sound. I mean, they'll be here for another 100 years or so. So it's the structures of these buildings are very, very good. And if they're not, I mean, we'll let you know essentially. And there's only a few properties that we sell that have like basically structural issues, but we always let people know that ahead of time, and then they're gonna have it's gonna be less of a price because of that. But yeah, these houses that were built back in the day were built extremely well, and no roof is going to really be the original ever that you buy, because roofs only last 20, 25 years. Normally, these roofs have been done multiple times. Maybe we're doing it a new roof as well to make it newer. But so if we've just done the rehab, like a full extensive rehab on a property, you really should not have much maintenance at all. Of course, like every once in a while, just with even your own house or where you live, you'll see something will happen, like, oh, the faucet's leaking a little bit, and you'll have a little maintenance charge for that or something. But for the most part, you're not really going to have to do anything major. And when you do have to do something major eventually, that's considered a capital improvement. So you're really adding value to your property, and you're just making your property worth more money now, essentially. So it's tough to answer this as a for sure thing, because it's just so variable based on the properties, because we sell properties in all different kinds of conditions. And I want to kind of make a little clear that not every single property is rehabs, but I mean, we do rehab a lot of properties as well. And the rehabs vary based on what we think needs to be done, essentially.
Right. So what he's saying, Caleb, is that the properties that are not rehab, they are already occupied, and before you create a price for that particular type of property, you have to do the calculation. You so Meaning that you may want to lower the price to incorporate a particular property that may need some maintenance 2 or 3 years down the road, whether it's 5,000, 10,000. So in today's listing, you may want to lower the price for that amount, knowing that the buyer may need to incur the cost down the road. So you adjust your selling price to investors accordingly. Am I right?
Yeah, we absolutely, when we put the pricing on the sheet, we absolutely take the condition of the property into account. I mean, there's few things that make the property valuable, is like the condition and the area it's in and the cash flow, essentially. So those are really, the condition is a big factor for what the selling price is. So if it's not a recent rehab and it's kind of going to need a rehab when tenant moves out eventually, then you're going to be buying it at a lower price. We're factoring in the fact that, yeah, the condition isn't perfect right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one thing I really like working with you guys over the years, and of course, my investors may purchase from you. The majority of them have given me very good feedback. So they are giving you guys a very strong endorsement. Initially, they thought, they take a big risk by buying an older property. They think there's a lot of, issues, but over time, when I go back and talk to a number of my investors that purchased from you guys, they realize they made a very good decision. So that's why we coming back to you, consistently. And,
yeah. In fact, most of our customers are repeat customers. We've had some customers that's been with us, like buying properties and have sold properties and bought more properties, like over many years, for some like over a decade.
Yeah, you guys are truly, and I say this and I really mean it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. I mean, the turnkey provider, is a very good system, right? Because you guys, everything's under one umbrella. But I also experienced in our over the years that other turnkey providers from the other so-called Midwest market, they are not as transparent. They are not as legitimate, not as reputable and all that, and when other people buy into so-called high cash flow properties in other Midwest market, I'm not going to mention any specific companies, they have not done a good job. So for so you guys been around for so long. You guys know your market so well. You guys know every neighborhood. You pick the right property. You don't have, you pick the right neighborhood, the right property, and so yeah. I mean, you guys got this whole system down packed. And when our investors buy from you, it's like a mailbox money, like an autopilot. What some of my investors bought 10 properties all at one time from you. Some bought 5, some bought 2 or 3, and there's a reason why people buy more than one from you because they have a good experience and you guys know what you're doing. So I really appreciate that. And so with that said, some investors might be thinking, oh, what about the neighborhood? What about the type of tenant? Is that a rough neighborhood or there are crimes? I mean, how do you address some of these misconceptions?
Yeah, so Buffalo's actually pretty good for it. It depends on the areas, of course, and we will buy anything that's a good deal, essentially. So we will buy in like some areas that are not the greatest, but I mean, we'll tell you right up front, and you're going to get higher cash flow, essentially, for that. Generally, the better the area, the lower cash flow you'll get, is how it typically works, unfortunately. But the neighborhoods that we normally buy in are all pretty good. Normally, like a C neighborhood or C plus neighborhoods. You're not going to have to worry about anything. Like we've gone to like Syracuse and places in Cleveland where there's neighborhoods that you can't even leave like furnaces and hot water tank. Once the property goes vacant, you need to take the furnace and hot water tank because someone's just going to break in and steal the property. You have to like worry about being like shot somewhere. Like it's crazy in some areas, but like here, like you don't have to worry about that at all. Like it's really quite rare. I mean, obviously there's crime everywhere, but as far as having to worry about your investment for that, it's normally negligible.
So what I hear is you saying is that you don't have a nightmare tenant situation where they in the middle of the night they leave and take out trash your house and take away steal all the household items and you never heard from them again. You don't have this kind of a nightmare situations, have you?
No, not typically. I mean, it has happened. I mean, it's just the unfortunate reality. But it's not normal that like tenants are going to take like a hot water tank and furnaces and stuff like that. Like, but it after tenants leave, there is often like some work that needs to be done, essentially to freshen it up to get rent ready for the next tenant there. So it will depend on the tenants. Essentially, when we rent them out, we always try to get the best tenant possible. We do thorough background checks, check social media, even check if they've ever been evicted. We use been verified to basically do all kinds of checks on them, and the management, they really do a really good job on renting to tenants. And then otherwise, tenants that we inherit and already have, they're normally pretty good at paying because that's how we bought them, and they have a long they have a long history of just living in the property and paying rent, and it's just very easy to collect the rents. And it's but I mean, you will get some tenants who are just very troublesome, so it depends, but we normally do a pretty good job at avoiding that.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. So what I hear saying is that many of your tenants they rent for several years, if not more. So
Yeah.
the vacancy factor and the changeover the tenants are much fewer than what one would perceive in your market. Would that be true?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the property. I mean, some tenants we've had will stay at the property for basically their whole lives. A lot of people will just decide to rent a property their whole lives, and they'll just always be renters essentially. But I mean, then you'll get some other people who only want to stay a couple of years. So I mean, it's people you're dealing with, so it's so variable because people are so different.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, that's the investor landlord that it comes with this kind of risk, but the reward obviously is much greater than the risk, and especially when you're working with a trusted team as you guys, it's very reassuring. for investors that are buying from you guys sight unseen, 3,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away. You guys have done such a good job over the years, so there's no reason why not to trust you guys.
Yeah, and we always encourage people. I mean, if people want to come down, like we've had actually a few of your investors have come down and actually seen the properties themselves. We'll get a ticket. We'll show them around the neighborhoods. They could see it from themselves, touch the property themselves, get a feel for it as well. I mean, that's we're always working. So any time is good for that. So that we welcome that as well.
That's right. Yeah, they told me, you know, again, I get the feedback from my investors. I always try to be transparent with them. I coach and mentor, you know, many of my VIP investors, and they give me feedback. I check them out. So they they say some good things about you guys. Yeah, you're right. Some of them visit you, and you know, you guys are very accommodating. You know, you guys invite them to your house, and you know, offer them, you know, food and drinks and stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's good. It's a good experience for people willing to travel and see you guys, you know. And I noticed, okay, recently I noticed on your inventory worksheet, on one hand, you know, when I or any one of my investors see your monthly inventory spreadsheet of listings, I mean, on one hand, we think, wow, you know, Buffalo Turnkey have a lot of, you know, uh, listings, we can pick them. But then recently I've seen that a lot of the listings already either been reserved or sold or under contract. What's going on with with your market?
Yeah, that it's good and it's bad. So at one point we've probably had twice as many properties almost, but right now the list has been dwindling because it's getting harder and harder for us to find good deals. We are always looking to find better deals. We go to like every single auction, bank auctions for properties, tax foreclosures. We also have bird dogs looking out for properties, have mailers, calls, text, email lists. Like we do literally everything that you can think of in order to advertise to buy more properties that are good deals. But it's just getting tougher and tougher to find properties right now. And it's very rare that we'll buy something off of like the market or anything because there's not good deals out there. It's just there's a lot of junk on the market, honestly. So it's getting tougher for us to find better deals, and that's why the list is kind of dwindling a little bit. We're thinking it's largely due to COVID and not being able to evict tenants here, but we're hoping and stay on foreclosures, which do take a while, the process. So we're hoping that we'll be able to pick up some more properties soon in the future. But right now, it is getting tougher to buy properties compared to the past.
Yeah, I understand. You know, I mean, what your market is going through is no different than what's going on out there, right? Right now, we have a historical low inventory everywhere. You know, low interest rate and tremendous demand for properties. So it's affecting every market, and your market is no different. So it's very challenging. So now, speaking of foreclosure, I know when the forbearance and ends, when you know, when all this government program ends for those people, there will be few foreclosures that are going to come down the pipe. Not that many. Nobody knows for sure. But what you're hearing that you may in the next few months or even in the next few years, you might find some good foreclosure deals in your market, and you could do the same kind of system. You can find the foreclosure at a very deep discount. Use your team to fix it up. Use your working crew, you know, your rehab crew to fix it up and market it, make it turnkey, place the tenant in there, and sell to investors. Same old system that you've been using. So that's what you've seen you guys doing, right?
Yeah. So we always go to all for. I mean, there's always foreclosures going on. There's just not a whole lot, but right now, just because of the stay of foreclosure, and the process has just been a little bit longer right now in New York State. They've been a little bit easier with COVID. So there's just the foreclosures did just start up again a few weeks ago. So we have picked up a couple properties that way, but there's just not a whole lot right now.
Yeah, so hopefully, down the road, as we continue to work together toward the rest of this year and beginning of 2022, hopefully, you have more listings for us from your private portfolio. That's the great thing about working with you guys are we don't our investors, we don't have to go through the bidding war. You don't have to go to the multiple listing servers to find the deals because you guys have done all the work for us and you guys selling your you own your portfolio. I mean, every whether it's 50 homes or 100 homes that are listed on an inventory spreadsheet that we see every month, you guys own it. But so is that you guys will dictate the pricing and all that stuff, and of course you sell it at a very very good price, very legitimate price. So our investors, all they have to do is just work with you guys directly. They don't have to waste time and get stressed out with the bidding war, all this kind of thing. So that's the value about using a turnkey system like you guys, right? So, uh, uh, yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, one final thing, 5 more minutes left. I really appreciate your time as always. You guys are very, very busy. Let's highlight one property. I review one of the property on your inventory spreadsheet, and I'm gonna talk. When I send out the email newsletter, I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna upload that cash flow sheet. That property number 13 on your Excel spreadsheet. That's a triplex, 149,000, and it rents for 1625 on all three doors combined. Yeah, I mean, it's not real high cash flow with that property. Sometimes you have to go beyond the numbers, right? Beyond the cash flow sheet that I show my investors. So and the because the property tax on this particular property is kind of high, but uh, so the monthly net cash flow is around $300 on this 149 uh, purchase price. Threeplex is still available on your inventory. So can you share with me above and beyond the numbers, what are the potential value add associated with this triplex that investors may not see, may not know yet?
Sure. So that one in particular, that's one that we actually did not do a whole lot of work to. We bought that one, and all three tenants were already in it. Were already in there, already placed. It's actually pretty good condition. The property itself, we should have some photos on Dropbox for that one. But the house itself is decent. The tenants, they've all been there a very long time, and they're all paying right now, and they've all been there so long that the rents are probably a little low, honestly. You could probably raise them, and we probably should raise them at least like $25 a unit or something. We don't like to raise them too much all at once, but just to get an extra like $75 probably on there a month. But also that the property itself, it's in a really nice area. The taxes are pretty high on the property, which is why it's a little bit lower of a return. But that's just because the area there is really nice, and it's in Sloan, New York, which has a little bit higher of tax rate. But the property itself is really quite good. I think on Zillow it has the estimate of like 185 or something like that, which is substantially more than what we have on there. I mean, Zillow's not always correct, of course, but
Right.
that's what they have on there. And then if this area has been really appreciating pretty well and pretty rapidly there. So I mean, even if that were to appreciate like 9% in a year, I mean that's an extra $1,000 a month, basically income that you don't even have to claim until you sell it. Realize, I guess, until you sell it. But it's a pretty nice property there.
Yeah, that's a very good. That's a very good value add explanation above and beyond the pro forma that I created for that. So, where else in a country where you can buy a turnkey property, all rented threeplex? We're talking three doors, good long-term tenant already in place. No rehab needs to be done. Only for 149K. and resize totally for rent for 1625 in all three doors, and the potential to increase the rent. So the future potential for higher cash flow if you raise the rent little by little, and then the potential for appreciation, like you said, I would consider this property like a B minus neighborhood, for lack of better, the terminology. So, so there's good value add, as as always the case, your inventory spreadsheet, whatever listing you have in any given time, those houses sell quickly, right? 24 to 48 hours, around that time frame. So you may have 50 to 100 properties available in any particular month within a few days, a week or whatever. Most of them are in various stages of being reserved, being under contract, already sold, or under rehab. So it's just if any investors want to pull the trigger, uh, they have to do it quickly. Am I right?
Yeah, generally. So we're probably selling about 15 properties a month. So it does change quite a bit, but it's not like everything's going to be brand new every single month. So we buy and sell roughly 15 properties a month, 15 to 20 maybe.
Sounds good. You have a good diversified portfolio. You have single family homes selling for like 40 to 45,000. Those has to be for cash, because our loan agent Richard Avani, he can only do loans on property around $60,000. Right? Any property you have for under $60,000, the investor or the buyer have to pay all cash or use the IRA, self-directed individual retirement account to buy as well on these all cash purchases. Anything over 60 grand, single family home, duplex, triplex, investors can do financing, because the appraisal is not broken for the most part in your area, which is very, very good. And inspection always turn out to be good. So I encourage all my investors to do inspection, and they do that. And they're very surprised that any kind of small little items that needs to be fixed, you guys are very accommodating, although that's not an absolute requirement to fix those minor cosmetic repairs. You guys are more often than not, are very accommodating. You guys decide to fix those non-urgent items, and just to caring for the investor. So for that reason, our investors like that, because you do everything above and beyond the call of duty to try to satisfy the needs of our investors. So for that reason, we appreciate you guys for doing that. Yeah. Okay, Caleb, that's it. I think we covered everything for this month, and we'll come back next month to do another episode podcast. Thank you for your time. Look forward to continue to work with you and your great system, great turnkey providing, great houses, great cash flow, even great appreciation potentially. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Always been a pleasure. Thank you
so
very much.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.